So we are here. These are the Spark or the Snark notes for Transcript 2 of the Young Living v. doTERRA trial. This is civil number 120100255. Christine S. Johnson is the judge, and she is also referred to as the court in these transcripts. This Snark notes will be covering pages 69 through 341. Yikes. It's probably going to be longer than 7 minutes, but I'm going to try my very best to keep this short. Hello, I'm DeeCee. I'm an MLM dropout, and I talk a little bit about everything here on my channel. I do focus on unethical business practices and decoding manipulation and helping you equip your empathy through education. We have a lot of great conversations in the comment section and in the live chat. When you have a bunch of people with different beliefs and different backgrounds come together is the civility and the respect that we extend to one another. So one of my requests here on my page is please don't be a jerk. All are welcome. I'm so happy to have you, and let's dive in. As a reminder, for the plaintiff, Young Living Essential Oils, we have Mr. Straight, Mr. Berger, Mr. Toth, and Miss Wyndham. We have 2 sets of defendants for doTERRA, and for the defendants, we have 2 groups. For the first group of defendants, Sterling, Wright, Cook, and Hill, we have attorneys Mr. Smith and Mr. Muir. For the second group of defendants, Harrison and Shepard, we have attorneys Mr. Hawkins, Mr. Gaylord, and Mr. Wiseman representing them. Officially, doTERRA Essential Oils has been dismissed from the case. We don't know why. We've already asked the judge to change the name, and we've kept the name, so we're mostly confused and unafraid. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know why, and I don't know how to find out why either. These Snark notes will cover opening statements by Mr. Berger for Young Living, Mr. Gaylord for defendants Sterling, Wright, Cook, and Hill, and Mr. Smith for defendants Harrison and Shepard. The opening statements at the beginning of trial are limited to outlining the facts. Each party's opportunity is to set the basic scene for the jurors, introduce them to the core dispute of the case, and provide a general roadmap as to how the trial is expected to unfold. While this transcript does include the start of the direct examination of Gary Young, founder of Young Living Essential Oils, that was so much, it deserves its own video. So this Spark/Snark notes for this roundup will only include opening statements. If you know, you know. And if you can't wait until that Spark Notes comes out, you can always watch the replay of the full reading on my channel or on Kat Benson's channel. Before the jury comes in, there are some procedural things that happen. They're still going back and forth about what the definition of solicit is, and things get decided and opening statements are allowed to begin. The jury comes in. We start with the plaintiff's attorney for Young Living Essential Oils. Mr. Berger presents his opening statement, and the gist is Mr. Berger says that this case is about broken promises. The defendants were all former high-level employees at Young Living Essential Oils, and Young Living's business model is based off of independent distributors, based off of those relationships. Given the importance of those relationships to Young Living, and in return for the employment and their salaries, the defendants made a simple but important promise to Young Living Essential Oils that they would not solicit independent distributors away from Young Living for a specific period of time. But according to Young Living and their counsel, they claim and they are trying to prove that they broke their promises. And of importance to this case, they solicited Young Living distributors away from Young Living and therefore damaged Young Living's bottom line. And in joining that new essential oils company, they are in breach of that promise. To sum it up, the defendants harmed Young Living. The actual transcript goes on for pages and pages and pages of that opening statement. It's kind of an interesting insight/look into the strategy that Young Living is going to use to lay out their case. You know I'm not a fan of Young Living. I'm not a fan of doTERRA either. That was just a Spark Notes, the roundup for that opening statement. Let's move on to Mr. Gaylord. Mr. Gaylord positions his side to say that the case is really about three things. It's about contract, it's about opportunities, and it's about choices. He said that it is about an opportunity that doTERRA provided to the public. And it's about a choice that doTERRA gave to distributors and to the public in 2008. And that's a choice that drove distributors. On the one side, you have Young Living, a company run by Gary Young and Mary Young, and a company that they created over 20 years ago. You had a company that was driven by a single man, Gary Young. A company that was driven by someone who said it was his way or the highway. A company in which if you didn't do what you were asked to do, you were on your way out. In fact, when David Sterling, one of the defendants, went down to Ecuador in 2007, when Mr. Gary Young professed to be a doctor, which he was not, was performing surgical performances without a, you got it, medical license. What were those medical procedures? Intravenous insertion of essential oils. Gary Young fired David Sterling for what Gary Young viewed as insubordination. Gary Young also allegedly had a tendency to berate employees. Allegedly, Gary Young berated Emily Wright at a Young Living convention. He berated her to the point that she quit. And in fact, ironically at that, immediately after the altercation, she was paraded around in front of all the distributors, all meaning thousands upon thousands of distributors. Gary Young had the distributors, right after he berated Emily Wright, sing her and wish her a happy birthday as she was crying her eyes out from the interaction that she had with Gary Young. When David Hill, a medical doctor, gained notoriety at Young Living, his popularity angered Gary Young, and Gary Young demoted him and told him not to use the word doctor, even though he was one, and Gary was not. Told him not to use doctor in front of his name and effectively drove David Hill out of Young Living. In Mr. Gaylord and his client's opinion, the quality of Young Living essential oils dropped. Quality that was essential to moving the product. And then there's the rhetoric and pronouncements. Distributors across the board were getting tired of the constant claims that were being made in front of them at conventions, such as trigger warning, claiming homosexuality can be cured with, you guessed it, essential frickin' oils, or that oils themselves, trigger warning, cure cancer, or the presentation of anti-religious propaganda did not belong. Mr. Sterling, Miss Wright, and others claimed that this was not a good way to run the business. They believed that propaganda did not have a place in Young Living, in the business that they were associated with. They believed in the product, and they thought they had a good product. They wanted to just sell a good product. They wanted to create a system. David Sterling, Emily Wright, David Hill, Greg Cook, Mark Wolford, and others saw an opportunity. They observed what hadn't worked in Young Living, what they had tried to change in Young Living and couldn't, and they came together, according to Mr. Gaylord, lawfully and entitled to, within their right, start a company. They saw firsthand what happened when a company was run by someone, by one person, all alone, a company without a vision and without accountability, and they said that it was a distraction, that it was destructive, that these people, this group of people, knew what would work, and Gary Young did not want to take advantage of the recommendations that they had made, that he didn't want to benefit from their expertise. They were going out, and they had every right to go out and begin to do what they had tried to do at Young Living. That's the general gist of the opening statements from Mr. Gaylord for defendants in this first group for doTERRA. Now, I am not for multi-level marketing. I'm not for doTERRA. I'm not for Young Living. We're reading a transcript because, repeat it with me, the tea is in the transcripts. We've found out a lot of interesting and eye-opening things as we've read through these. One, someone who shall not be named, pretending to be a doctor, not having enough farms to supply the amount of essential oils that would be needed to meet the demands of their growing customer and distributor base, and more and more and more. Stay with me. This is just a quick roundup so you can get caught up. If you want to join us for some of the transcript readings in the future, there's a lot. There's 4,000 pages. And again, I want to reiterate this. We're reading it because there was so much information control when I was part of a multi-level marketing company. Sharing this in its entirety feels important on some level, but I also know long stuff can be exhausting. So that's what these Spark Notes are for. They're to help you get a general idea of each document that we are reading. And while the videos in the longer readings are broken up because there's only so many hours in the day, you will have one Spark Notes version to go with one document, even if there's multiple longer videos. And those videos will be linked in the description below. I will tell you this, Mr. Smith's opening statement was my least favorite, and that's saying something because I really am not a fan of Young Living essential oils. However, this opening statement came in last place for me personally. You'll just have to listen to the full transcript in one of the readings to understand why it wasn't great. I tried to cut it down to make it shorter and easier to intake, but there's only so much I can do. Mr. Smith said that he represents 2 of the defendants, and he makes a point from the very beginning that he's a smaller attorney and that he doesn't come from bigger firms, and he's basically David to the Goliaths of the other defendants and especially to Young Living. He said that he didn't really know why his clients were there and that the jury was going to ask that same question at the end of the trial as well. He said that his clients don't understand why they're there either. Nobody knows why anyone is there apparently. He says that a solicitation agreement is different than a non-compete agreement. Non-compete agreements say when you leave, you are not allowed to compete. Don't go starting an oil company for 6 months. That is not what he says they have here. He's going to say that they had a non-solicit and to not specifically go after anybody from their former company, to bring them over to the new doTERRA. And he says that his clients didn't do that, didn't do anything. He said that they are going to hear evidence that this was not a non-compete. They were allowed to compete in the oil business. And he says they are allowed to compete in the oil business the moment they left Young Living. He says that competition was fair and lawful, that they just were not allowed to solicit Young Living distributors, and that his clients specifically did not. And he says that the important key points that he wants the jury to remember is the actual termination date for both of his clients and their sign-up date with doTERRA. And that's basically all that he said in his opening statements. I could repeat more. However, that's basically all he said for pages and pages and pages. We have a gist of the opening statements from the plaintiff and the defendants. But what the heck does this all mean? How does it boil down? From what I understand, Young Living has said that the former employees of Young Living broke their contracts. And both sets of defendants said, absolutely not, no way. The defendants claimed that Gary Young was authoritarian in nature, that it was his way or the highway, and that the Young Living quality allegedly seemed to be decreasing. The defendants claimed that Gary Young was practicing without a medical license in Ecuador. They claimed that Gary Young was authoritarian in nature, that it was his way or the highway, and that perspective, in their opinion, was leading Young Living down the path of no return. The defendants alleged that Gary Young punished people for speaking up. They are arguing about the dates of when employees left and when they started with doTERRA, because if it is one date, then no one's in breach of contract. And if it's the other date, maybe there's a breach of contract. Some of the funny lines from the third opening statement did not land, and you're going to have to watch the original transcript reading or read the transcripts to understand what I mean. They're not worth repeating. It was just an eye roll. Does that matter in the grand scheme of things? It certainly does not. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just reading stuff on the internet. This case is already over. The decision has already been made. I'm just going to be sporadically petty. So, what's the point? Why am I reading these transcripts on the internet with Kat Benson? That's a great question. When I was in Young Living Essential Oils, there was a lot of information control. There was a lot of behavior control. There was also a lot of thought and emotional control, but the information control was really big in the group that I was in. I was also in another multi-level marketing company that wasn't associated with Young Living Essential Oils, but the situation was very similar. The information was censored, it was edited down, and it was blocked from people being able to access it. And it was frowned upon when someone would share information that was negative with other distributors. I'm reading this with Kat to provide an additional space here on the internet for people who are in multi-level marketing companies, even in Young Living or doTERRA, to be able to see in its entirety some of the behind the scenes information of what's going on in Young Living essential oils and in doTERRA. I really do believe that the tea is in the transcripts, and I'm really excited to keep reading this case. This concludes the end of the Snark notes or Spark notes for Transcript 2 in the Young Living v doTERRA civil trial. And the next video you can expect to see in this Snark Notes series is an entire video dedicated to Young Living Essential Oils founder Gary Young and what happened on the witness stand, because it was a lot. I don't know how I'm going to boil it down. I think it's going to be good. I think you're really going to enjoy it. And I hope that these shorter videos help you catch up so you can come hang out with us when Kat Benson and I are live. You can find dietitian Kat Benson on her YouTube account. She does a lot of videos and activist work. She's very respectful, articulate, and intelligent. And I've loved getting to read these transcripts with her. And I think that you too will find her a wonderful creator to follow and to learn from. The only reason that I have these transcripts or access to these transcripts in the first place is because of Kira Manchester, a writer, blogger, activist in the anti-MLM space. She has an incredible website where she talks about everything that she has done research on, and you can find a ton of incredible articles and writing and research done that if you are trying to see what the heck is going on in the MLM space, she is someone I would highly recommend following. She's also very active on Facebook and on Instagram. If you like one of those social spots better than another, you can absolutely find a place to connect with her there. If you like this video, I would love for you to actually hit the thumbs up. And if you're interested in hearing more about this set of videos or other videos on unethical business practices, deception and manipulation, and uncovering that little bit, I would love for you to subscribe and hang out and come check out the next video that will stream or post to my YouTube channel. I'll catch you on the next video. Bye.